Now, when it comes to music, there's guaranteed to be mistakes. So, it's okay when you catch yourself making them. That's what I did for Love from the chorus line. But that's not the... That's really a warm-up song, because a lot of the saxophone music that you hear, for the most part, depending on the artist, but a lot of artists use the major scale, and that's a very major scale song with some flats in it, some notes like that really do help you along the way. Now, playing saxophone especially is quite easy once you get the hang of it. But I would say, though, some of the easiest songs to learn and to play are gospel music or American folk songs. But it does help when you breathe beforehand. Mainly, that is easy. It's one of my favorite songs to just start playing around. It's self-taught. But that helps you, if you want to learn saxophone at that, to know the basic fingering of the saxophone. Anyway, the reason why I'm doing this video overall is because I want to teach the saxophone. I've been playing it for over 10 years now, still learning every day, but I'm going to teach what I know. And to be fair, some of the world's best saxophone players, which I know I'm not on that list. To say if I was, I would be lying to myself. But even the world's best saxophone players are learning every single day. So let's go over the basics of the saxophone. Now, this is the instrument altogether. Let me take this off the strap. So, this strap is from my old Yamaha saxophone, which I don't have anymore. This is my new one. It's my purple saxophone. I've had this since 2012, so for at least 7 years now. So, let's go over parts of the saxophone. This is the mouthpiece. This is the reed. The mouthpiece and the reed are kind of like, let's say, a whistle alone without being attached to the sax, but this is why it's called a woodwind. Here's the neck. The neck of the saxophone, think of it like the diaphragm. So when you blow air into it, you're kind of pushing it down the esophagus. And this is the full body of the saxophone. Now, the full body of the saxophone from this part down, with all the bells and whistles on here, you might be thinking, well, that looks difficult to play. Not really. Here's G, the G chord, D chord, your basic fingering right there. And then you have your, when you press this down with the G, you get a G sharp. When you press this down, and with the, without the G sharp button, but with this button, you get a low C. If you press both these down, you get a low B. It is very, it looks complicated at first, but there's all bells and whistles. Like, for example, right here, you have three, I would say trill. I call them trill buttons. They're not really, like they're really good if you're trilling. They're not that great if you're, okay, that was weird. But these are not any special trill buttons. Well, they are trill buttons, but you only really use them when you're trilling in music, which if you are in a marching band or any type of band at that, very rarely will you actually play music that requires you to use these, but they're there for special purposes. This is the register key. It helps you go up in tune. What else? Oh, I forgot. This is the bell, the saxophone. This is where the sound comes from. Like I said, the saxophone is part of the woodwind family. So if you go to any orchestra today, modern day orchestra or symphonic orchestra, you'll see that the saxophone is normally in place of where a lot of French horns would be. You'll, especially in a lot of opera, current opera today, you'll see saxophones as a part of the orchestra because they replace a lot of old instruments that are rarely used in opera anymore. And those that use those rare instruments are very specific. Handel, Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. But if it's anything like Giuseppe Verdi or Handel, they'll have they'll have saxophones in the orchestra. They'll have trombones. They'll have clarinets, French horns. French horns have always been a part of music history. So if you know a French horn player, they're playing a very historical instrument. I mean, this is a historical instrument as well, but it didn't come around until like the 1840s. The French horn has always been around since Mozart's time. But honestly, though, but if you see a band, a modern day band, a concert band more specifically, you'll see that the section really being French horns, saxophones, and then clarinets, because we're the woodwind section, and so we support each other. The basses of the band, you could really say, are the tubas and the trombones, so they support each other. But we're some of the loudest instruments in a band. The lowest sounding instruments are the flutes. Doesn't matter how many flutes there are, if you have a band that's filled with saxophone players, French horn players, trombone players, and tuba players, chances are that the flute actually being heard is a 1/16% chance. It's a calculation I've noticed when I was in band. Anyway, so anyway, gonna move on a little to more music. And rock music is very saxophone heavy based. So here's just some classics. Let me adjust my neck there. I'll just stop there. I haven't played that song in a while. I have most of it remembered. But that's Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. Now, that is I like to call layman's version of New York State of Mind. It is it's a very easier version than the actual version. If you listen to Rico, his saxophone player, play the song in the middle of the song where he goes into this amazing saxophone solo. He has very great sharps and flats and minor notes that he adds in there. Like I said, he's a great saxophone player, but all saxophone players learn every day, so no one's a true expert. What else? This is one I've taught myself by accident. I was looking up Buddy Holly music for saxophone. There is none, because there's no saxophone in Buddy Holly's band, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. And I found out how to play Peggy Sue. At the same time, this is also the pattern for Peggy Sue Got Married. On. Now, that's Peggy Sue Got Married. That is basically Peggy Sue just in reverse. It's kind of like if you say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, backwards it's docious xp supercalibropus. Although the song is not an actual word, you get the point. And here's Peggy Sue, forward. That just gives you an idea of how easy rock is for saxophone. I found it challenging genre of music, though, for me personally, that I would love to master country. Country music is by far the hardest genre for saxophone I've found for myself so far. Because if you listen to any country album, you'll hear fiddle, you'll hear trumpet, you'll hear trombone, example. You'll never hear a saxophone. You'll never hear a saxophone in country music. Why? Because it doesn't sound like it would fit, but it does. Because if you think about it, a lot of saxophone music that we know and love today originates from the South. It's in rhythm and blues, it's in jazz, it's in rock, for example. But it's not in country. You would think it would be in country, considering how popular it is in a lot of Southern music. But it's not. The saxophone's even in Southern Baptist music. It's not in country. So I've managed to learn some of Glen Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy. And this, when I transposed on paper, and I've played it enough times where I only need to look at the sheet. Saxophone wouldn't have the full melody. We would also have to play the harmony. But yeah, I had to fiddle around with it just to find Rhinestone Cowboy on the saxophone. I've also found a little bit of Gentle on My Mind. That just gives you an example of what we would have to do if Glen Campbell had saxophone and Gentle on My Mind. We would basically have harmony there. We would have to support the rhythm guitar in that song. We would actually have the whole melody of Galveston if Glen Campbell had saxophone in that song. which I would love to do with a country band because Galveston is just a fun song. Um, what else? Okay, I'm just gonna wing this, and you're gonna see what it's like, when you see a saxophonist on a stage. Sometimes they'll be at a concert and they'll get requested for a song that they heard several times, but they never played it. That could be the whole band, or it could be at least one of the players. Like, let's say the pianist of a band has heard the song before, played it at home for fun, and they know how to play the song, but the whole band has never played it before, so they have to really listen in to what the pianist is playing and just play along with what the pianist is doing. Like, it could be John Denver, for example. John Denver never had saxophone in his music, but if he did, uh, you would have a pianist play like the main steady chords, like Back Home Again. There's storm across the valley, clouds are rolling in. That would actually be interesting. But yeah, I mean, just swinging it at this point with the songs. That's exactly what really being a saxophonist is. It's not always having it down on paper, and if you do, that's wonderful. But overall, being a saxophonist or being an instrument player is really just winging it more than half the time. I mean, as long as you can play the instrument and know how to play it well, at least, that's all that matters, really. It doesn't matter if, someone says, oh, play a song, and you haven't played it before, you know what it sounds like, and you just swing it, and 50-50 chance there. I mean, it's 50% chance you know the song by memory so well that it comes out perfect, or 50% chance you know the song well, but your transposition mentally is not coming out the way it should. So I'm going to leave you with a well-known translated version of this famous song from a popular film. Anyway, That's a little bit of the improv version and a little bit of the actual translated version. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Live long and prosper. See you next time.